Many fitness business owners don't realize that one of the easiest and best ways to generate paying clients is to actually give away stuff for free and provide free value. In today's podcast episode, we're going to look at the different ways different types of fitness businesses can use this to generate more leads, generate more interest, and help more people simply by sharing their expertise a bit more freely. I'm Matt from the Profit Podcast. Let's dive right in. I have to start today's episode by giving a big shout out to one of our listeners, Nick. This episode was born out of his idea. He's been listening to a lot of our episodes recently, reached out on Instagram at Matt Robinson PT, and we exchanged a few messages, and he let me know that something that he noticed with some of the newer PTs in his gym is that they're often a bit insecure about giving away things freely and offering free value to people because they're then worried that they won't get paid for doing their job because people expect everything to be free. So it's something that, as a more experienced PT, he understands how it works and where to implement that. But he mentioned that a lot of the newer PTs don't really know where this fits in. So I've used Nick's idea, that topic of sharing stuff freely, to generate PT clients, but I want to talk about it in a more broad fashion so that it applies to all of our listeners, because we've got listeners that are gym owners, that are online business owners, that are personal trainers, lots of different types of fitness businesses within our audience. So I thought we would build on Nick's idea there and talk about how you can get paid by giving away some of your best stuff for free. And we're going to unpack how that fits into your business model in a moment. And then to help you understand how you apply this to your business, I'm going to share a model that I use and that I teach to the people I work with one-to-one that helps them think about the information that they create and share, or the content that they create and share, and how that all fits in. So we're going to give a bit of context and then start to develop that idea and talk about it and how you apply it to your business. So the first thing we need to do is overcome that barrier of giving away information freely. And the easiest way to talk about this is to look at it the other way. What do people actually pay for? People don't pay for information. Information is almost worthless these days. Every bit of information you could ever want is accessible at your fingertips. If you thought it was easy to get information before through Google, it's 10 times easier now if you're using AI and things like that. You can literally get information on anything in any format as quickly as you want, providing you've got an understanding of how to use certain tools. So information is not what's valuable here. The bit that's valuable with your service, whether you're a gym owner, a personal trainer, an online coach, the valuable part is implementation. That's what people are paying for. People are paying for the implementation of the information. They need a little bit of a filter to help them understand which information is correct or incorrect or applies to them. And then they need help implementing that into their lives. That's what they come to you for. And that implementation is made up of different things. There is the sharing of information as part of that, but then there's elements like accountability, support, having someone to ask questions to, having someone that they trust, having someone that understands them as a person. These are the things that someone is really paying you for and your services. So regardless of what type of fitness business you run, people aren't coming to you for information. So straight away, you should be thinking to yourself, right, so the information I've got it's accessible anywhere, anyway. You might have your own take on things, but that's maybe a great way to stand out in the marketplace, which is more of a reason to share that stuff freely rather than keep it to yourself. But the bit that people are going to pay you for is the implementation. So once you know that people are paying for that aspect of what you do, everything else becomes a little bit more commoditized. It's a bit more like, well, everyone's got access to information. What's wrong in sharing some of that or all of that in a free way? that can help people move along, that can help them get to that next step, at which point they might need some help with implementation, which is where I would come into it. Okay. So that's the frame of thinking that I want you to have as we discuss some of this stuff that we're going to unpack in today's episode. People are paying for implementation, not really anything else. Okay, so we should hopefully be in a place now where we're accepting of the fact that information is easy to share. We should be putting it out there as much as we can in terms of helping other people, especially when we're in a service-based industry like ours. So let's now look at how you might actually use that as a way of generating business for your service. How are you going to give stuff away for free, but use that to generate business? Now, the first thing to look at here is how people tend to do this. Most people are probably doing this in the wrong way. And what I'm about to describe probably applies more online than it does in person. I think a lot of people in person just shy away from sharing advice altogether. Online, they give it away a bit more freely in their content, but then there's no real strategy behind it. Okay. So regardless of whether you're on a gym floor or you're online serving an audience there, or you're running a facility or something like that, there has to be an underlying set of things that you do to help people find you and help people understand who you are, what you do, what you stand for, what you stand against. And the only way to do that is to put some free, valuable information into the world. So if you're in a gym, for example, that might be as simple as going up to people and introducing yourself and saying, hi, I'm Matt. I'm one of the PTs in the gym. I've never met you before. What's your name? I'd love to know who you are so that I can, keep in contact with you when you're in the gym. That might be something like that. Just that initial outreach can be in person. That's the simple bit of value you provide, because it's not something people get anymore. And then you can follow up with that at a later date. Online, it might be a piece of content that you produce and that you just put it out there and people start interacting with that, and maybe you interact back with them and start a conversation that way. If you're an owner of a facility or a fitness business, it might be that you're doing something more locally, a bit broader, just to get some awareness out there about who your business is, like who does it serve, what is it for. So it might just be that you put something out there freely, like in the local press or in some sort of paid marketing, where you're actually either just doing some general brand awareness, or you're actually putting out a useful article or something that then people would maybe think, that was really good of that organization to do that. Maybe that's something I should engage with. So these are things that we should all be doing. We should all be looking to help people as much as we can. And that's going to help people then decide whether or not they want to come to us for implementation. Not everyone that you help freely is going to want to engage in your paid service, and that's fine. It's only ever going to be a small percentage. Look at something like this podcast that we run. Thousands of people have listened to this podcast over the years, but there's only a small group of people that have ever reached out and asked for our one-to-one help, and that's fine. We still give away as much as we can do freely so that you can implement it yourself. But then people reach out for the specific implementation in their business for their circumstances. That's what you're going to find with your stuff. So don't expect everyone that you help freely to come and engage with your paid services. That's not how it's going to work. It's going to be a relatively small percentage. But the idea is that the more people you're helping freely, the bigger number that small percentage is that then reach out and come to you. Okay. So again, that's just a little bit more framing and context for how to think about this. Now let's look at how you might apply this and give you a bit of a model to think about when you're doing this stuff. So the model I'm about to describe here has 3 parts. This is going to give you some strategy for the information that you give away freely. And I believe that you can apply this in person, online, or as a facility owner. It doesn't matter. You can look at these systems and think to yourself, right, how would I apply that to my service? Before I reveal those 3 components, the bit that underpins all 3 is first and foremost understanding your audience. Now, if you're a new PT in a gym, your audience is everyone that's in the gym. If there's 5,000 members, that's your audience. Concentrate on those, and that's your audience. It doesn't matter who those people are. It's just I need to get in front of those 5,000 people. As you develop your business, you might need to become a bit clearer on your audience. You will absolutely need to do that if you're running an online business. And similarly, if you're running a facility, you need to know who that facility service is and who it's based around as an ideal client. Okay. So audience does come first, but then we're going to apply these three things to this audience. So the three areas are reach, teach, and ask. And anyone that's worked with me for a while will have heard me mention this a few times in some of our live events and trainings that I've done subsequently. But those three areas again are reach, teach, and ask. And I'm going to break those down for you now so that you can understand how this works. So reach is fairly straightforward. It is what it says on the tin. Reach is things that you do to reach a wide audience. So it's to broaden the amount of people that know who you are and what you do. Okay. So in person, in a gym, reach might be something like having a series of posters up around the gym that are promoting an offer or a free consultation or a free workshop or something like that. This is just putting more eyeballs in front of your business, basically. It might be using the gym's email list to get a newsletter out there that you've written, and it goes out to all 2,000, 5,000 members, whatever it is. You're reaching that wider audience. Obviously, reach can also be just you being in the gym and being around as often as possible, getting to know as many people and just saying hi and getting to know names and learning about people. All of that is reach. But you've got to find other ways as well of extending that further so that you're reaching people even when you're not physically there, or that you might not ever otherwise come into contact with. So that's what reach might look like if you were an in-person trainer in the gym. Online, this is where you're creating pieces of content that are aimed at people slightly broader than your audience. So one of the examples I was talking about this week with one of the coaches I work with is she works with pre and postnatal clients. That's what she specializes in. So I said that in her case, she might use women's health as like a general broad subject. It's still a niche because it's still applied to a smaller subset of people, but she might use content around women's health as her reach pieces of content, because within that audience, even though that's a much bigger audience than her specific niche, a lot of her niche clients are going to be contained within that bigger audience. And there are going to be lots of people in that bigger audience that will one day fall into her niche. So that's the type of thing you're thinking about with your reach content. It's like with me with the content I produce. I produce content that's based around personal trainers and fitness business owners. Now, in the UK, there are about 23,000 registered personal trainers. So that's a really small pool of people. So I will also produce content for a bigger pool of people in which my audience might also be contained. So I might do some subjects that are more broadly around running your own business or being a business owner or business systems, or even things like just fitness in general. I will do some broader subjects every now and then to reach that bigger audience, get more reach. And I know that my smaller audience will also be contained within that bigger one. If you're a gym owner, a facility owner, something like that, this is where you might just throw a blanket over your local area. You might pick a radius of maybe, 3 miles and think to yourself, right, we know that not everyone in that 3-mile radius is going to come to our facility or even engage in fitness, but we're going to cover as much of that 3 miles as we can with awareness about our brand and our facility. So that might be some local marketing. It might be getting involved in local events. It might be getting involved in local media in some way, freely and paid. That's how you're going to reach that wider audience. Okay. So things that you can do, most of which can often be free to reach that bigger audience. What we then want to do is balance that out with some of the next phase, which is teach. So reach and teach are things that you're doing on an ongoing basis. They're the most common things you should be doing. And the way to think about teach is this is where you are building a deeper connection with your current audience. So the people that already know who you are and what you do, or have an idea about what you do, you're building a deeper relationship and more connection with these people. This is where you're getting people to know, like, and trust you on a much deeper level. This is where people would need to be before they can make a buying decision or even know whether or not your service is useful to them. So teaching is where you are covering the much more specific topics in which you're an expert that apply directly to your audience. So again, on this podcast, for example, this is where we'll do episodes like we're doing today. We will do other episodes where we're interviewing a guest that might be a name in the industry, and that's more of a broader, more of a reach-based interview or episode that we're doing. An episode like this one today is more of a teach-based episode, and you will see us do the same thing with our content online. We've got some broader content, and then we've got some much more specific content. What this allows you to do as a business owner is it allows you to reach out directly to the people that fall within your target audience and your ideal clients, and prove to them that you're an expert in your field. And also, another important part of this piece is that you can show empathy for their current set of problems or things that they're trying to overcome. Those two things together work really well. If you can show empathy and show expertise, that's a great combination for someone to then see you as a potential solution to their problem. Okay. Online, I think a lot of people in our industry do teach really well. They do a lot of teaching. And in fact, they probably do too much teaching. They probably try and teach everything, when really they should be trying to teach a specific set of things to a specific audience. They should almost be trying to narrow that down a little bit. So you want some reach, and then you want some teach to build that relationship and build that depth of trust with people. So let's take a quick look at how you might apply this to the 3 different examples we've discussed already. So if you're in the gym and you're a PT, maybe you're newer, maybe you're looking to build some relationships, this is where you might put something on like a free workshop. So you're going to put on a women's fat loss workshop for people that want to drop a dress size. Okay, it's quite specific, and it's going to be quite a specific audience and quite a specific topic. But I can guarantee you that although you're not going to get a huge turnout to that, you might only get, let's say, 10 people turn up to that workshop. The depth of relationship you're going to have with those 10 people by the end of that workshop is going to be phenomenal. They're going to see you as the go-to expert in the area for this problem. And I can guarantee that off the back of that workshop, you're going to immediately get some paid business. Okay. So you could do something like that. You could even do something like just your general gym inductions. You know, if you get really good at getting in front of people when they first join the gym and finding out a little bit about what you actually use in the gym for, what problems are you looking to solve, I can show you how to do that as part of this gym induction. That's another way that people often don't think about, that you can use this teach principle. If you're online, I think this is probably a bit more self-explanatory, but this is where you're creating content that teaches a specific thing. It might be a podcast episode like we're doing here. It might be a YouTube video. It might be an Instagram reel or a carousel or a TikTok or a YouTube short. Whatever it is, it's something that's going to teach people about a specific topic. Maybe it's got your own personal twist on it that makes it look like you do things a little bit differently. And as I mentioned earlier, we're going to put a little bit of empathy in there and show our expertise. If you're a facility owner, this might be where you showcase your facility's like unique positioning in solving someone's problems. So if you've got a facility that's based around weightlifting as a central concept, for example, you can show people how your facility has got the best weightlifting equipment in the area. You can teach them about the importance of that equipment and why you decided to bring that type of equipment into the facility, why that's important. Why does it matter that everything's calibrated? Why does it matter that, you know, there's lifting platforms and things like that? Because most people might not know that. So you're going to have to educate them around how you thought about setting up your facility and why that's important for that type of audience. If you're running a group training type facility, you might need to do some teaching around the benefits of group training. and why you decided to use that as your model. What does that do for people's results? What does that do for people's continued engagement in fitness? How does it impact people's longevity and things like that? What does it do for their social life? So you've got to educate them around the model of your facility or your business so that they understand why they might come and engage in your facility compared to just your general standard commercial gym where they pay a fee and off they go. Okay. So that's how we might use teach. So we've got reach, we've got teach. We've then got this third part, which is really, really important. And especially online, this is often missed by fitness professionals. The third part is ask. You're going to give away all this free information. You're going to give away all this value, all this help, all this support as best you can. But at some point, you have to ask for people to take the next step, basically. You're going to have to ask them, are you ready to take the next step? Do you want my help with X? Would you like to try Y? Have you ever thought about Z? You're going to have to do that. Now, your ask is probably going to be a little less frequently, and it depends how you feel about this on a personal level and where it fits in with your brand and things like that. But if we were to think about this across a week, and let's use online as an example, because it's probably the easiest example to use, you might do an ask once a week. And then on the other 6 days, it might be a 50-50 split of reach and teach. Okay. In the gym, it's going to be a bit more a case of reach and teach to build relationships with people. And then when you get some green lights from people, like they're asking you questions, they want to know more, that's when you would come in with an ask and you would say, would you like to sit down and do a consultation and start to really look at this properly? That's where you might do an ask there. Or it might be that you do a bit of direct marketing in the gym where you're offering a paid trial or something like that. And that's your ask for that month. So your ask is going to be a little less frequent, but it's very important nonetheless. It's got to be consistent. There's always got to be an ask in there on an ongoing basis. Because it's like, for example, if we put out this podcast every week and never mentioned that we do one-to-one business coaching and that's something you can get our help with, we would never generate any clients off the back of this podcast. Yeah, we'd share loads of free information, which is great, and we're happy to do. But fundamentally, this podcast is part of our business. It's part of our outreach that we do to reach more people, get in front of more people, and ultimately showcase what we can do and how we can help impact fitness businesses. If we never ask or never mention what we actually do, it doesn't help us achieve any of those goals. Same thing goes for your fitness business. If you go around the gym all day being really friendly and showing people how to use rowing machines and how to do the lat pull down properly and knowing everyone's name, that's great. But at some point, you might have to flip the script a little bit and be a bit more direct and say, you know, I've helped you out with a few things now. It looks like you're still not quite sure on what you should be doing or how to reach your goals. Would you like my help with that? And you're just asking in a really friendly, sensible way. And you can then show people the next steps. In regards to your fitness facility or something like that, an ask is usually going to be a mention of what your core offering is. So it might be a gym membership. It might be a 28-day program that you run. It's going to be something very obvious. It's probably easier for that type of business to understand what their ask might look like. Online, your ask can be many different things. It can be a mention directly of your core offering. So it might be that, someone can reach out for one-to-one coaching or online coaching, or it could be something like join my newsletter or subscribe to my channel or leave a review or follow us over here. Those are the different types of asks that you might have online. There's any number of them, but you want to make sure that in and amongst all of those, there's going to be some sort of mention at least once a month of engaging with your core offer, which is your paid service. It's all well and good getting more newsletter subscribers and getting more followers and all of these things. But again, at some point, your ask needs to relate directly back to what you do as a service offering. So those are a few different things for you to think about. It all came from this central idea, like I mentioned, from one of our listeners about sometimes people having this trepidation about giving away things freely. But just to recap what we've covered there, we need to understand that people are paying us for implementation. That's what we're here for. All the information is already out there. There is more information than ever on how to get in shape, how to lose weight, how to get fitter. Our understanding of these things is always getting better. And the average person's understanding of these things, I think, is always getting that little bit more sophisticated. Our audience now, from a fitness perspective, is more understanding of what it takes than it was 10 years ago. Everyone's got a much better understanding now of what fitness is, what it potentially should look like, and why it's important. So we've got a more sophisticated audience now that, if anything, have got information overload. We need to help them filter that and then help with the implementation. So that's why you shouldn't have any problem in giving away things for free. And then in terms of structuring what you give away for free and how you think about it, that's where this model comes in that I've talked about in today's episode. We want to reach people, we want to teach people, and we want to ask people. And we can apply that to any different type of fitness business. It's all about looking at who your audience are and how you reach them, how you teach them, and then how you ask them. And if you're doing those things on a regular basis, that's how you will turn your free stuff into paid business. If any of that needs clarifying for you, if you've got any questions or if you've got any suggestions off the back of that, then please feel free to reach out to me directly. You can find me on Instagram at Matt Robinson. Send me a message on there. Let me know if you need any help in how to think about that. But this is the exact system that I share with the people I work with one-to-one. And we look at how to apply that specifically to their audience, because we want to make sure that they've got a strategy around how they're constantly going to be generating leads and interest and awareness of their brand and their business, so that it's not something they're always having to worry about. So that's it for today's episode. Another fairly short and sharp solo show as we get through these summer holidays. Me and Paul are going to each keep chipping in with our own solo expertise and things like that. As always, if you need any help, come and find us. You know where we are. We're always happy to help you out. And until next time, take care.